Hi everybody, this is Cynthia and I'm here today with Debbie Ellickson, and it's been a long time since Virtual Newsmakers has done a show. Both of us have been up to here in projects and things going on in our lives, so we had to go on a little bit of a hiatus, but that's okay. We're back and we're going to start today. A fresh start is our theme. And part of it came up because I was resisting starting this show up again because I'm moving and my house is in Sanityville. And so Debbie is the penultimate organizer, and I watch her organize and get things done. She's the organizer of the two of us, and I love that about her. So anyway, I wanted to say hi to Debbie. She's in Edmonton. Is it still cold up there?
We had snow yesterday, so yeah.
You're still shoveling out?
Yep.
Uh-oh. Well, it's warm down here in Miami, and I'm shoveling out of the trash and whatnot in my house.
But it's what you make of it, right? You can take that as a negative or take it as a positive. So.
Okay, so I asked Debbie to come on, and one thing about Debbie is she is an excellent online and virtual coach. And it's funny because we actually step beside each other and coach each other from a place of accountability. And so when she has something that she needs to get done, she approaches me. When I have things I need to get done, I approach her. And then we coach each other through achieving certain things in our lives. And when I was resisting this week, she called me on the carpet and said, you know, I can pack everything that's meaningful to me into 2 suitcases, and you need to get down to the essentials. So the challenge today is we're going to hit my dun-dun-dun back room, which is the scariest part of my house. And we're going to hit that back room, and we're going to see, she's going to like force me to organize and throw away. What do you think?
That sounds great. And let's just take that a step further, just on a general picture. Is when you do organize your living space, it frees up energy and allows more positive energy to come in. And it seems kind of voodoo-y, but it does reduce stress when you're not tripping over things, and you simplify your home life. And it comes down to basic feng shui. Feng shui is about improving your life simply by simplifying your living space. And this is what we're going to help you with, Cynthia, is to simplify what you have, and then if it doesn't serve your purpose anymore, file it and get rid of it.
I like that plan. Okay, so you're going to talk me through this. See, I get really anxious at the idea of change and having to get rid of things. And I think some of it came up for me when about 10 years ago, this is crazy, right? Let's just wait till you hear this story. We had Hurricane Wilma, and it was right on the tail end of Hurricane Katrina. And it was such a disaster in New Orleans. And all the electrical poles went to New Orleans, and we didn't have electricity in Fort Lauderdale for about a month. And so every year I go through this weird knee-jerk reaction of collecting and hoarding 30 days worth of food. That's insane, right? So I spend 3 or 4 months trying to hoard all this survival food. And then by the time November rolls around, I feel safe again. Like, okay, we escaped another year without a hurricane, so
Well, you know, that's not a crazy idea because of where you live. So what happens if you do have a devastating hurricane? You may be the only one that has the food. And plus, you'll also be ready for the zombie apocalypse.
I hear you there. So should we go see this, like, horrific space?
But storing food, as long as it's not perishable, that's, I mean, you're going to reuse it anyway once the threat of hurricane season is over. So that's not a crazy idea to have some extra on hand.
Okay, so maybe that's not.
But the stuff that were, you know, a lot of people get tied up into the material things, and a couple of years ago I gave everything up, like totally. I was living in a 4-bedroom house with 2 bathrooms, finished basement. I was renting it, and I decided that I'm giving it all up. I had the local homeless shelter come back up their truck. They took all my furniture, bedding, towels, clothes, you name it, everything except my computer equipment and a few clothes that fit in a couple of suitcases and my cats. I gave everything away, save for a few collectibles that I put in storage.
Right. But
it was really kind of necessary for the journey I've been on because it was freeing. You're not tied to all that stuff. It's something about hanging on to. We do get, I mean, I love stuff. I love collectibles. I love Marvel. I love, you know, all sorts of things like that. And I like to have them around me. But when it comes down to the wire, consider, let's go back to the hurricane or a tornado.
Right.
If you're faced with that one moment decision, what are you going to grab before you get the hell out of the house to save your life? The rest of it is so not important when you get in that situation. So if you look at it from that standpoint and appreciate what you do have, because a lot of people, they think they don't have anything.
Right.
You just have to turn on the TV and look at Nepal, look at Africa, where they've had some devastating storms and things going on there, to really look at that and appreciate that we're, even if you are having trouble making your mortgage, and as long as you have a little bit of food, some clothes to wear, and a bed to sleep in, that's more than a lot of people even in North America have.
Right.
So appreciate what you have, but again, if it doesn't serve your purpose,
right,
and it's just sitting there, and you have no emotional attachment to it, and it's basically just taking up space, sometimes there's a little bit of negative energy tied to that.
Right.
And also consider who gave you the item. So if somebody, say it's your ex-husband, gave you that item, and you know your relationship with your ex-husband is still toxic, then maybe that item should get the heck out of your house.
Luckily I don't have an ex-husband. And I definitely don't keep stuff from them.
But the point is consider who gave you the item that you want to get rid of.
Right.
And if that person is a negative influence in your life or is not positive, that is a clue on whether you should keep it or toss it.
Right.
As well. So you can use all these different little checkpoints to see whether your item is worthy of keeping or not.
Gotcha. All right. Well, let's start going through my stuff, because I'm gonna show the crazy, messy room.
Ah! It's not too bad. I've seen worse.
That is horrible. Are you kidding me? That is like beyond horrible.
Now, we've got to put it in 3 different piles, too.
Okay.
So what we want to do is we'll have a pile where you're going to keep it.
Right.
And a pile where you can toss it.
Right.
But also a pile where you want to give it away. So consider your local homeless shelters,
Okay.
your church, and they take furniture, food. There's a lot of people in need who could use a lot of stuff. So that type of item that you want to get rid of can go into the giveaway pile.
Okay. Well, my problem is I don't have the space right now to do all that. So what I'm going to do is I need to get started with something here. And I think what I'm going to start with is a trash bag.
Looks like you might need more than one.
Oh, here we go. Yay. Glad bag trash product placement. Anyway, yeah, I've got old bubbles from my daughter. Probably expired from like 2002. Try a minute cough syrup. You know, I mean, this is just ridiculous stuff. And you know what? I don't think...
Now, hold on a minute. Before you throw that out, do you have a recycling program in Miami?
We do.
So why don't you pour the bubbles down the sink and recycle the plastic that it came in?
That's a great idea. In fact, I've got a recycling trash bag, so let me go get that, and I'll be right back.
All right.
I like that idea. Thank you.
So reducing stress this is one way to reduce stress in your life, is to clean your environment. And I think most of us have had a room like this or a garage like this. So what we'll do later is we'll once this goes into the archive, we'll add some links to some websites that give you some step-by-step on releasing some of the negative energy and stress in your life, which will be coinciding with cleaning out your stuff.
I've got a broken frame that I've been meaning to fix. You know, one of those do-it-yourselfer things that never gets done.
Garbage.
Garbage. I've got a calendar from last year.
Recycling.
Recycling.
Yeah.
I've got financing graduate school. I went to graduate school like how many years ago?
Any paperwork would be recycling.
Okay.
And if it's personal information, you might want to shred it as well.
Okay.
Just to make sure your social security number isn't on there, your address, and other personal information.
Right. Yeah, no, that's good. My friend Tanya is inviting me over for a bonfire, and we're just going to burn everything.
That'll work too.
She's fun. What do you do about old sort of like weird electrical stuff you don't use?
If it's not reusable, if it's outdated stuff, and of course it can get pretty brittle the longer wiring sits there, you might as well toss it.
Yeah. What do you think about things like old bases and things like that that never get used?
Well, that's something that could go into the giveaway file.
Okay. All right. So that's a giveaway.
Because, you know, one person's trash is another person's treasure.
That's true.
One thing I absolutely love doing is shopping at secondhand stores and finding all sorts of treasures. So that vase, if it's something that I collect, I'd probably be happy to find that.
What about bizarre things? Like I save all these strange things like this glass that I like to go get handmade candles at the farmer's market. And I always have this intention of taking the glass back to the candle maker and getting them to refill them again. What do I do with this? I'm never really going to do that.
Is it clean or is there wax on the bottom?
There's a little bit of wax on the bottom. Okay,
you'll probably want to toss that. Or I don't know if it'll go in the recycling bag, so you might want to toss it.
Okay. All right. You know, I mean, those are just things. I think what it is we get in this good intentions gone bad kind of, right? And I just, at some point you've got to like let go, I think. What do you think?
Well, you just got rid of those 3 items, probably released you of about 20 pounds.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you look at it in poundage,
Right.
imagine how much you're relieving on your environment with the weight that you get rid of.
Right. That's true.
Because moving sucks to begin with, and you might as well not move unnecessary items.
Right.
That you don't have to lift.
Well, I think also it's a matter. All right, so let me ask you this. This is a crazy question. This board game that this goes back to this stupid hurricane idea. What are we going to do if there's a hurricane? Well, we're going to have time to play board games, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that might be something to keep, because that would, just looking at the game, it's educational. It might be something fun to play with your daughter anyway.
Okay, so you would keep that.
I might keep it.
Okay.
I might change my mind once I got to the next location.
Okay, so that's
something I might keep, and if I didn't keep it, I'd put it in the giveaway file.
Okay, all right. Okay, what's next here? Oh, no, here's something I'm famous for. This is horrible, right? I have this tendency to save boxes full of stuff I'm eventually going to mail somebody someday.
Say what? Could you repeat that?
Things I'm going to mail someone someday.
Mail.
I probably have things I was going to mail you, and I haven't mailed you yet. But the scary part is there's so much friction to actually getting anything into the mail. Like if I had somebody come over once a month and say, okay, what do you need to mail out of here? That would be a great service. Because I don't have time to do all that. Get all that boxed up and addressed and packed properly and whatnot. Chris is really good at that.
I'm still trying to get over the word mail.
I know, it's just got all these gifts I've been meaning to mail people that I just 2-3 years later, it's just insane. Does anyone else do that?
If you don't want to keep them and somebody else might like them, then put that in the giveaway file.
Okay, giveaway file. Okay. All right. What about let's see. Let me just pick a box. See what's in it. Am I the only one on this planet that saves all this stupid stuff?
No. Oh no.
I'm drowning in stupid stuff.
I can tell you that I have purged so much stuff before I got rid of my household stuff. I used to purge my collectibles every 7 years, and because I worked in media and went to all the hockey games, I used to collect all the game notes from every game.
Right.
And the media guides, and that, believe me, that stuff piles up over time. I would recycle 7 huge garbage bags of media notes every 7 years because I would decide that I didn't need to keep them anymore. You can get all that stuff online anyway. So.
Well, that's the whole thing. I'm sitting here looking at all these notebooks and obsolete information and stuff that I'm never going to look at this again.
Although I have this habit, I will recycle it and get rid of it. Mm-hmm. And then no sooner do I do that, then something happens, and then maybe a couple months later where I think, oh, darn, I could have looked it up in that that box.
Right.
But that usually passes.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I don't, some of it's notes and things like that, and I'm just not sure yet. What do I do?
Well, if you're not sure, and if you think the information, if it's not available online, if that information you think you might use it at a later date, by all means keep it.
So
you might change your mind later, but at least, you know, if you think you might need it down the road,
right.
keep it.
See, I think my big difficulty is that I'm an infomaniac. And so I somehow think I'm going to ever have time to go back and look all this up. And the reality of the matter is there's nothing in the world we cannot Google.
That's right. You'll change your mind if you, for instance, with books, if you use a Kindle exclusively for reading,
right,
and you've collected a whole bunch of books, there will be some books that you want to keep that have a certain sentimental value for you, and that of a favorite author. But the rest of them you can give away to the giveaway pile. Bottle Gardens. Gee, that's where you're. You know what? Those glasses, if you have a garden at your new place, you could probably do something with.
You know what it is? This was my grandmother's book, and she used to make terrariums, and so I have this thing in my head about terrariums, and so I'm attached to that one book, you know, or like there's certain books that I'm attached to, and certain books I could care less about. So it's
ones you could care less about, give them away.
Right.
Even if they're old software manuals.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There's still some people running on XP.
My goodness. Wow.
Hopefully they're not online, but
what else? Let's see here. You know what some of these are? Old
what?
From our shows.
Oh, really? Funny.
How funny is that?
That's hilarious.
What's that all about? You know what?
Gosh, you might want to keep that.
Funny. Epot Cohen. Who else? Dan Newman.
You kept a physical copy of that?
Yeah, I've got. What I do is I make notes on these index.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And
I put all my notes online in Google Drive.
Okay, so that's the answer to that question. If you can take notes, do it online.
Well, I had done the physical notes, and then I eventually transferred them online.
All right, then let me ask you this. Do you have time? How do you come up with the time to physically transfer those over? And how do you schedule that into your life?
Well, that's a good question. Sometimes, you know, you just have a moment where you don't want to really do much except catch up on things, so that might be when you do it. And a lot of times if I'm going to be doing the blogging of it, actually it's usually fresh after the show is when I would do it, because that's when I'm pushing out the content, whether it's on Pinterest or doing a blog. So that right after the show, when the information is fresh, is the best time to throw it in a Google Drive doc.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, you know. And that's one of those things, like, you know, one thing I've been doing is, you know, I look at this stuff that's on paper and I think to myself, we have all this data that doesn't need to be on a physical object. So one of the things that I've been doing is, instead, you know, all those CDs we used to have with music,
right,
I'm ripping them straight into Apple iTunes, so I have a full-fledged collection, and then I'm getting rid of all the CDs, and then, you know, I've got all these DVDs of movies. Well, you know, it doesn't take long to realize that they're either on Netflix, they're on Hulu, they're on Amazon Prime, or whatever. And we don't need to schlep around those videos anymore.
Although sometimes they do have like for me personally, my DVDs and my music CDs have an emotional value for me. So
Right.
those are something I would keep. That's something I would keep.
Absolutely.
But besides, if you're driving a car that has a CD player, you might as well keep the CDs.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? I've even gotten to the point, Debbie, where I'm not driving a car with a CD player because what I'm doing is I'm plugging my phone, which has my music already. So I listen to Spotify.
Right.
I listen to Pandora. I just plug into the car speaker. And so I'm no longer finding that, if I want to make a playlist, I can listen to the music I want to listen to, and I can make a mixed playlist. And Spotify will shuffle the whole thing for me.
Right.
I find that I gain a lot more variety than if I had to switch out a CD and like slap all that stuff. So even that, I'm starting to recognize what data is important and what data is something that could be in the cloud, so to speak.
Right.
So,
and I guess it depends on the kind of car you drive too, because if you like classic cars, well, chances are you'll have a CD player more than. It depends on if you retrofit it to be able to plug in that.
Right.
An iPod.
Yeah, that's true too. I do like classic cars, but they're not really that practical today. What are some other ideas?
Well, what do you got underneath? What's in that crate underneath that box that you're playing with?
That's what I'm trying to get to. Hold on. There's
that blue crate right there. Yeah.
This is really dumb, but...
Are those records?
No.
Oh.
I used to put everything into...
Binders. Old binders.
I don't need these white folders anymore.
Okay, those would be... You would give those away because there are people who would look for those in the secondhand store that could use them. There's offices that, could use some of that.
Okay. So that, as dumb as it...
You never know.
It's just not anything that I'm wanting to use or need right now, And I think that so I guess the big question is, do I need it? What are the questions? Well,
the question is can you live without it?
Okay.
Do you have an emotional attachment to it?
Okay.
And does it spawn any sort of negative energy?
Right. Or is it the other thing is broken?
Well, sometimes if it's broken, if it's a real keepsake and it's broken, for instance, I have an item in storage that's made in occupied Japan. And that was during World War II.
Right.
That came out of my mother's house, and the hand is broken off. Okay. And that's something I wouldn't throw out. I would try and find a way to put the hand back on, but that piece is because the hand is broken, it's probably not as valuable from a collectible standpoint, but because it's made in occupied Japan and because it's valuable to me as a heritage piece, I guess you could say, I would keep that kind of an item because it's broken.
Okay.
It depends on what the item is. Sometimes if your daughter made something for you that you absolutely loved but it was broken, you'd probably keep that.
Yeah, if it was something that was like from my child, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's how the item, where it fits in your life. If I know it's hard, for everybody it's different, but there are things that we just don't need, because when it comes down to a fire or some sort of emergency and you have to choose between your life and maybe one or two things, you're probably going to grab your kids, your dog, your cat,
Right.
and your computer. and that's it.
Right. I got ya.
You're not going to go back and rummage through your closet to get a fur coat or anything else, or your favorite jeans, or because most things are replaceable. But you want to have stuff. You want to have your stuff because they make us feel warm and cozy around. But when you have too much of it, it just suffocates us.
Well, and I think that all right. So, what about old stuff from work that you'll never look at again?
Recycling.
You know what I mean? It's like I'm looking at this old work stuff going, I just...
Unless it's something that, so for instance, we're going to be developing a training program.
Yes.
So is some of that information valuable to that training program? Can we adapt some of it? In which case, yes, keep it.
Most of that, though, for me, is on Google Docs.
Then you toss it in the recycling file.
Right. So that's all stuff that, I think I've got to, let go of, binders.
Yes. They add up, don't they?
They sure do, and it's like so strange. And you know what? The reality, I just don't need to be attached to any of this. I mean, this is a great old cookbook, but I get recipes. It's the joy of cooking.
Oh wow, that cookbook's been around the bend.
Yeah, but the thing.
You might want to keep that for just the, if there's a history in that cookbook. I mean, that cookbook probably has you could write a story about that cookbook and all the recipes it's
Oh,
told.
you know what? I've got one cookbook that I think meets that criteria, and it's the coolest cookbook on the planet. And my dream is to actually take it on the road and turn it into like this virtual world. Have you, I don't know. So anyway.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well, if the cookbook isn't serving your purpose, then put it in the giveaway file.
Yeah, because, there comes a point where it just does not make sense anymore. What about old magazines?
I usually give them away as well. I donate those. I had, oh my gosh, in the when I was cleaning out the house, oh my gosh, I do not know how many boxes of magazines I had. I don't even think I can count that high. Right. They all went to the drop-in center, the homeless shelter, along with everything else.
Well, that's really what it boils down to, I think, is just getting to a point where you can leave.
We can see the window now.
Making some headway here. Like old, tchotchke things, give away.
What is that?
Just random stuff, It's amazing what we accumulate that we don't. Yeah. And I think I'm going to go back to that whole data thing. It's amazing how much that's available online. We don't need to hang on to it.
But and you have to also, just because we don't need it anymore doesn't mean somebody else might not appreciate having it. So that's why I suggest donating it. So I personally, my choice of donation is a homeless shelter or a place that helps the homeless. That
right.
You could take that information, or take that material. But it could be your church. You were mentioning a place called This and That.
Yeah, This and That is a really cool thrift shop that is in Coconut Grove. And the women from Plymouth Church run this thrift shop. And all the proceeds go toward after-school programs. So they sell everything in the thrift shop. And it's usually really good stuff. So one of the things, I'll give you an example. This is like kind of funny. This is going back to, is it sentimental or is it just cluttering up our lives? I've got these silver platters and stuff like that, you know, if I was having some fancy tea party for Princess Charlotte Elizabeth Diana for her first birthday, I might have a staff of servants to hold this stuff up and serve canapes to the tea party. But the reality of the matter is, this is great for a church thrift shop that, you know, maybe somebody would appreciate that. It's not something that is going to be good for, or make sense for any practical, normal person in life.
There are people that they collect things that, like that. There are people that collect the weirdest things, and they have a whole house full of those particular collections, so that could be right up their alley.
Right, exactly, and that's the type of stuff that could go to a church thrift shop that I'm never going to use and doesn't make any sense for me whatsoever to keep. So, anyway.
Me, I would be looking for sports collectibles, so which you probably don't have any in your house, but I would have lots in my house.
Okay, so then the question is, look up somewhere that, hold on, I'm going to go get my camera. I'll be right back.
So in your city or your area, you may have a different sort of resource for underprivileged people or kids in need. So check out the resources in your own area to see where you might be able to donate your stuff. There's also, in Canada here, I know people who buy specific things, specific types of collectibles, and you probably have that in your area too. You probably find them on Kijiji or some other type of classified listing. And they're looking for record albums. There's people that are looking for sports collectibles. I know a fellow that actually collects papers. So any papers from, say, the 40s, 50s, 60s, he would actually pay for that. So there's people out there that will buy all sorts of different kinds of collectibles. And so check your local area to see what is available and what kinds of resources that touch your own heart and who you might like to give your stuff to.
I'm kind of documenting the before. And that's another thing, like, how do you celebrate the freedom from stuff?
Well, personally, mine comes in a bottle of beer, but...
Well, I happen to have won a bottle of wine today at the Rotary Club.
There you go. That's your celebration when you're done.
So, yeah, no, I think that...
Because by the time you're done, you're going to be exhausted and you're going to want to sit on the couch and veg and have a sip of wine.
Well, and that's another thing, like, celebrate the release. How do you celebrate the release of the stuff? Because the reality of the matter is, I do believe the stuff holds us back.
Yes. There is a lot of documented proof about that too. There's a fellow I know who does some speaking on that, and he talks about cleaning out your closet,
right,
which releases the stress in your life.
Right.
And it's letting go of things, and when you let go of stuff that's unnecessary, it helps unstick you. And you know, if it isn't serving you, if it doesn't forward your purpose or make you feel good or have some sort of value in your life, then maybe you don't need it.
Right. Well, and the other thing that I keep looking at all of this stuff, and I'm like, this stuff has been in this back room for 5 years, just accumulating. And the reality of the matter is I'm moving, and if it's been in this location for 5 years, I definitely probably don't need to take it with me. And
that's what I do with clothing too. If I haven't worn something in 6 months or more, then chances are I'm not going to wear it in the next 6 months or more. So that would make me put it in the giveaway pile.
Okay. That makes sense. I like that. And we haven't even tackled my closets yet. Scary. Yeah, I mean, just like, for example, platters. I keep going back to this platter thing. Who has time for that, right?
Yeah, unless you already have them out and you have your favorite platters out already. So if it's just in storage and you haven't used it in 5 years, chances are you don't need it.
Oh, bye-bye. Oh, boy. And I think the funny thing is we don't even realize, you know, my dad lives in a really simple little place. And you know, even, you know, we don't realize how much we hoard, how much that we don't need. And I think just boiling it down to the essentials is really critical.
Well, I have the ultimate oops when it comes to keeping something I didn't need. One of the things I did not get rid of when I left the house in Calgary,
right?
And God knows why I didn't put it in storage. I took it with me to Arizona. Now, everybody's going to laugh when they hear what it is. It's a pair of rubber boots. I know. I don't know why I thought I would need rubber boots in Arizona. It's not like I was going to be walking through any monsoons, but and they just took up space in the place that I was in, and of course I never brought them back with me, so they just I ended up trashing them or giving them away. So, but that's a good example of something that sometimes we do things what were we thinking.
Well, not only that,
but it took up space. I mean, you figure out the weight of that. That just even the weight of that was a weight I didn't need to lift.
well, I think it boils down to, you know, really like what you're talking about is taking things along with you that don't make any sense more for you today where you're at. So in my case, I would say that I've got a lot of stuff that clothing-wise that would be really great in New York or somewhere where it's cold, but I live in Miami, and I'm not going to ever use a camel hair coat or, you know what I mean? Like, what do I need that for? So
I might need it, but
exactly. I'd rather give it to you than send it to the camel coat,
but if I were going back to Arizona, I wouldn't need it.
So don't tell my son, but I'm throwing away his airsoft. That's the other thing. Kids. You accumulate all of this stuff with kids.
But that can go in if it's a toy that can be somebody else can enjoy, put it in the giveaway file.
Right.
Unless it's broken.
Okay, so what are the rules of getting rid of?
Well, for me, if it's trash, again, getting back to the clothes, if it's something I've worn, we have shirts and favorite items that we wear till they're threadbare, and then we toss them. So if they're threadbare and if they're just junk and full of holes and just junk, don't put them in the giveaway file because they're just junk. I would just garbage things like that. But if it's something that somebody else can reuse, then
Right.
by all means, give it away.
All right. What about all kinds of, this is funny. This is lighting for our show.
You might put that in the giveaway file as well, because somebody might need that. If it's still working, then give it away if you're not going to keep it.
I think I am going to keep it. Just
There you go.
back here. So this would be like bona fide keep stuff, believe it or not, like the lighting related stuff or wiring that is necessary for the technology, the stuff that we need technology wise. So I can make an excuse for that.
Yeah.
Not just the geeky side of me, or what?
And you may have a bigger place to be able to set it all up too.
No, I don't, but I'm going to have a better organized place, so it's not bigger, but it's better organized in the sense that that it will enable me to set up better, for lack of a better way to describe it.
Do you ever get your house feng shuied at all, or do you ever look at some feng shui treatments for your house?
Not really. Any thoughts on that? I don't know that much about it.
Yes. You can hire a feng shui professional to come in and at your new house, you would do that. And take a look at your place, and what they would do is they would come up with a plan to help move the energy around your house. But there are some basic feng shui things you could do just to kind of open up your room and treat different areas of the house where it lets the energy flow better. And it sounds kind of hocus pocusy, but it really does work, because what you're doing right now, that where you're standing was not, you couldn't stand there before. So how are you physically feeling now that you're feeling a little more space around you? So when you look at how freeing up energy, you can move energy around by just doing simple techniques. And there are some feng shui faux pas.
Right.
And you can go online, you can Google feng shui treatments, or how to feng shui your bedroom, how to feng shui your kitchen, and you can get some free tips online of that, or you can hire a feng shui professional. But just even the free tips online really help kind of improve your energy flow. And believe me, if you can do that, it really opens up, it makes your house look better. And it also opens up the energy and allows more positive energy. So when people walk into your house, they can feel the energy in your house when they walk in, whether it's positive or negative.
Well, it's funny. That's what I'm looking for, because I'm downsizing to a space that is essentially a storage room and a small bedroom, size smaller. So it's not that much smaller, but in order for me to enjoy the space, I'm going to definitely need to get rid of stuff. And so that's why I'm in this like real kind of soul-searching space in my life, just in terms of, the more I create a positive space for myself and my daughter and the people in my life, the more room there is for expansion into positive things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Americans tend to be very consumer in nature.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a tendency to want to buy all this stuff at Sam's Club. And so you end up in a situation where, you've got a 2-car garage, and you can't even park your cars in the 2-car garage because it's filled up with all this stuff. And the reality of the matter is that we don't need that stuff. Is the stuff helping us somehow feel better, or is it just obesity of just random stuff? So for me, it's been a process of trying to change my mindset about stuff, so to speak. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, because I've been living without stuff for a while, I actually, I'm sure once I get back to another place, I will start accumulating more stuff. But I probably won't be as invested in accumulating it like I did before.
Right.
I know that I will appreciate it more, and I'll look for things that really I really connect with more than just to have.
Right.
And I mean, you know, we're a materialistic society. I'm in Canada. You're in the U.S. We're both the same in the sense that we're a materialistic society, and we waste a lot of stuff. We waste food. We waste a lot of things, and I know that the facility that we have, the facilities, because there's more than one,
Right.
in Calgary that we've built for the homeless are unique to any other center in North America, probably.
Right.
Because when I was in Phoenix, I did not see a center like that. Their facilities were quite different. So I know that the need, some people do have a need. I mean, you've got people who are struggling with 2 part-time jobs just to make ends meet, and they can barely pay their rent, and sometimes they have to juggle the food money with the utility. Do I buy groceries this week for my kids, or do I pay the utility bill? And those people cannot afford, you know, to probably buy an end table or the binder that you're holding. They may need some things that you've just put in the giveaway pile.
Right.
And so when they go to the second-hand store, maybe if it's at the homeless shelter, they give it away. But even if it's at the second-hand store, that vase, for instance, or the platter that you showed, they may be selling it for 25 cents. They can handle the 25 cents, but if they went into Walmart and it was $6.95 or $7.95, that might be a different story, and it might be something they need. So I really do try to look at it from that standpoint as well. But when I buy stuff, I mean, believe me, I'm not that altruistic in the sense that I don't like to hoard myself. But I think I'm at the point where it's just not as important to me anymore as the relationships I've made. To me, the thing that's really important, what I do hoard,
Right.
whenever I have the money, what I do hoard is computers, working computers. So I'm so like if one computer dies, I want a backup, and sometimes more than one backup. So that is something that I would hoard. I would have 3 desktops, 3 laptops, 3 tablets at any given moment, just to make sure if one went on the fritz, I'd have a backup to work on. So that would be something I hoard, is technology equipment.
Okay.
And technology stuff. I like some of the bells and whistles that they have now too, but on the other hand, that's also a working item, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that we need every day in the work that we do, whether it's for play or work. And I like TVs. I know you don't watch a lot of TV. I like TVs, although I may learn to wean myself off of it once I get back to the U.S. But in Canada, we can't access online the same way that the same content that you have. So it's just not available as at the fingertips the same. And so that's why the TV is important in some cases. Of course, I like, if I have, in the perfect scenario, I like to have a TV in every room.
Okay.
But that, again, that's a technological item, right?
Right.
But as far as furniture, bare necessities, I would rather cut my vein than buy a pot. But I know that I need one eventually to cook rice in. But for me to have, you know, I'd rather go to the secondhand store and pay $10 to fill my my kitchen cupboards than go to even Walmart to spend $100 on a dish set. That, I swear to God, I'd rather cut a vein. But yet I'd spend that $100 on a sports collectible. It's just where your
Right.
priorities are, I guess.
Yeah, I got you. I'm into the cooking related stuff, so I love all that. But I had to get down to only the pots that I use and that I really need, because it doesn't make sense to have, I'm not running a 5-star Michelin kitchen, and I'm never going to run a 5-star Michelin kitchen. So, I think it's about getting really honest with yourself, and you know, what is it? What is it that makes life special and important, and how do you free yourself from all the stuff that doesn't? There's this guy. I put the link up in the sidebar, and if you scroll down, there's this guy Peter Walsh, and he is this mastermind of organization, and he gives all these tips. And I found him on Facebook. Apparently, he's on Oprah a lot, and his Facebook tips are absolutely brilliant. And I'm sure his website is too. But we almost need a Peter Walsh or an organizer in our lives. And Debbie, I look at your background behind you, and everything is always so clearly organized, so well, it's clear behind you, and it's the meaningful stuff behind you, but it's always clean and clear. So that's why I asked you to come on with us today. And then, looking up Peter Walsh, I think is for those of you who have difficulties with too much stuff in your lives, he's a great resource.
Mm-hmm.
I like your idea, Debbie, of looking up feng shui or hiring somebody to come in and help you, clear your space.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this past week, Uber collaborated and partnered with Goodwill, and they sent Uber drivers out to collect unwanted items. And I found out about it a little too late. Yeah, but they would pick up your items anytime between 10 and 4, and then they would take it all to Goodwill for you. And that's a great service. I hope that they do that over and over again. I would do that more often. The This and That store, like I said with my church, is such a great opportunity, because I know those proceeds are helping to pay for after-school programs for kids in our neighborhood, and I love that idea. And this weekend, I put a link to this as well. The U.S. Postal Service is going to, it's the second Saturday of every May, is kind of the universal holiday, if you will, for the U.S. Postal Service, picking up canned food items for food shelters. And what people don't realize is that we give and give and give to food shelters around Thanksgiving and Christmas. Well, what about the rest of the year?
Yeah.
And so the Postal Service comes to your mailbox and picks up all your canned goods, and I'm just going to put all my canned goods into some bags and send them off with the postman on Saturday.
That's a great idea.
And I put that link in there too. you know, having somebody uh, work with you virtually. Debbie is working with me virtually today to help talk me through or hold me accountable as a coach to get organized. And we're doing it through discussion. We're doing it through, it's just somebody to keep you company. It could be your neighbor, or it could be your sister, or it could be a friend or whoever, but it could also be somebody virtually. And that's the great thing about having this kind of technology today, is it enables us to connect with the world. I'm in Miami, Debbie is in Edmonton, Canada, and we couldn't be farther apart and closer at the same time.
Exactly. I mean, I think it's 5,000-6,000 miles at least. It's a lot.
I can't do this I can't do my back room by myself. Help! Here you are. And you know what? It makes it not so much of a traumatic experience just to have to do it.
Yeah. And another tip too to help clear toxic energy is if you are, for instance, if somebody visits you that leaves a sour taste in your mouth, or just some sort of lingering toxic energy, or something has happened that you just want to clear the air.
Right.
If you have some sea salt.
Oh, yeah.
Get some sea salt. This is a feng shui thing, too.
Right.
And use your fingers, but get a glass jar, a clear glass jar, like I have here. Take the sea salt out of the bag, and with your fingertips, and put about 3 little fingertips of sea salt in there, and just keep it in the area that you want cleared, and keep it for anywhere from 3 to 9 days, depending on how much toxic energy you want to clear. And when you're done with it, you put it in the garbage, but you take it right outside, because you want to make sure you take that toxic, and it absorbs the toxic energy in the air, and then you take it outside. It seems hocus pocusy, but it does work.
Well, I think that's about rituals, and like establishing the rituals in your life that help. For me, it's about plants. I like having plants in my house, and plants, scientifically, certain plants clear the toxins in the air, and we don't realize how much is off-gassing. It's actually called off-gassing.
Right.
From carpets, from our mattresses, from our couches, our furniture, all of that off-gasses. The paint in our homes and things like that. I went to University of Virginia for architecture school, and it was during a time where the dean was Bill McDonough, and he is almost he was called the Green Dean at the time, and he was known for his promotion of sustainability during a time, where people looked at us like we had 3 heads if we spoke anything about green. And what's fascinating about that whole scenario was that I learned that most buildings are more toxic on the inside than they are on the outside. And one way to combat that toxicity, so to speak, is to have the right kind of plants in your house that clear the air. So that's another thing worth looking up on the internet. Plants clear the air.
And all our technological devices, our TVs, our computers, give off a negative energy. And I've got something here beside me that I can show you. Hang on. The Himalayan salt rock lamp.
Okay.
This balances the negative energy that electronics put in the air. And I can tell you, as soon as you plug it in and turn it on, you can feel the difference in the energy. So you would put it in a room near your electronics, and they just have a little, one of those little tiny light bulbs that go inside. But it's a feng shui thing as well, but They sell these in the, all sorts of different places. Probably some of your natural food stores might even have some of these. I know they do in some of them in Canada. So it's a Himalayan salt rock lamp, and it's very good for negative energy, but from the electronics.
Now I'm like looking myself in, but you can see it's clearing itself out.
It is. So you have baskets up there too, I see.
Huh?
You have baskets up there too, I see. They come in handy.
This is, I'm toying with the idea here because I don't ever really use these that often. They're like these bizarre things that I use once a year if I'm going to a Thanksgiving party and taking food to a potluck.
Right. Then you might use them.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of like, I'm back.
If you use them, then keep them.
Something you use once a year. I don't know. It's a toss-up.
I guess it's how much do you want to move it?
There we go. So, I mean, those are the big questions, like, that come up for me. Like, what do you really keep something you use once a year? The only thing I can think of really worth keeping that I use once a year, honestly, is my grandmother's turkey roaster. I'll never, that'll go with me into the apocalypse.
Well, you know, we keep, if you're, a lot of us keeps something that we use once a year, and it's the Christmas tree and our Christmas decorations or Halloween decorations. So if it falls in that kind of a category, of course.
All right, well, that's a little bit, that's kind of like iffy. So, Chris,
unless you want to change, unless you want to start fresh,
right?
Turf your Christmas tree and start fresh. Of course, you know, I say that from somebody who doesn't really use a real tree. I think the fake trees are better for the environment. But there's some people that get a new tree every year, and then if you're going to turf your Christmas tree, don't throw it out. Put it in the giveaway bin.
I used to have a tree, a series of trees that I pulled out every year, and they just seem so ludicrous in Miami. You know, I mean, I hate to say it, but they have to cut down these trees in North Carolina.
Yeah, that's why I prefer a fake tree.
Come down to Miami, and they couldn't be like out of place. You know, so what I've started doing is I go buy a house plant that looks like a tree, usually a palm, and we decorate the palm with tropical fruits and butterflies and stuff like that. And so we've switched our Christmas tradition, but yet by the same token, I just started a whole bunch of Christmas ornaments up to my friend's storage unit because I wasn't ready to let those go. So,
right. Well, a lot of times the Christmas decorations are passed down through generations too, and we want to keep those, even if they're being held by duct tape.
No, and I've got a Christmas decoration box for each of my kids. Oh, here's a bunch of CDs I'll never listen to. I haven't listened to them in 5 years. I won't listen to them in the next 5 years.
So give them away. Don't throw them out. Give them away.
Okay. Shell Christmas lights. There we go.
Give them away.
Yeah. I don't need them. You're right. And this is my picnic basket, which I do use. Not enough, but I do use it.
Then keep it.
You know. So anyway, we're getting somewhere with all of this. Now I have to start packing.
You know, when you're clearing stuff out of your house, another thing is to, probably we should do this every month, but go through our refrigerator and our cupboards and check the expiry dates on our food and make sure that we're trashing the food that is expired. I know I've seen expired food that goes back maybe 3-4 years. Sometimes you forget, it just gets stuck in the back of the refrigerator. If it's easy enough to throw it out in the garbage and then recycle the jar or packaging it comes in, then I would do that. But most of the time you're going to just throw it out. If it's a jar of mayonnaise, usually you're going to just throw it out.
Oh, I wish I had a big garbage dump right outside this window. I'm getting stuck now.
Moving sucks.
Okay, so what do you do when you get stuck?
I usually don't get stuck because there's always something. As long as it's in a, as long as it's in a box and needs to be deciphered.
Right. I'm feeling stuck right now.
You just keep going.
Take a break. Keep going.
You do need to take a break. There's no doubt, because it takes a lot of energy out of you. So you do need to take periodic breaks. Sit down, have a coffee, regenerate your bones, and then go back at her.
All right. So basically, where do you think I should just go now? Do you think I should I need to coach them through this moment?
Well, are you finished this room?
Oh, no. There's so much to do. No, I'm definitely not finished. But I definitely feel like I could benefit from taking a break from this.
Yeah. Okay. Then take a break and you can go to the next room that you need to clear, or just take a break.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. Like, we could literally go from room to room and come up with a different story for each one of these, because the fact of the matter is, like, you go through the bathroom. This is what I did the other day. I sat there and I was like, I've got all these towels. I need all these towels. And then I had to sit there and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do 2 weeks worth of towels, because I do laundry every week. So I can cycle out the towels from the week before and wash each week. And really just getting down to that. Or like underwear, the underwear drawer. I mean, do you really need that many pairs of old underwear? So I've got.
Well, usually, if you really don't want to be caught in public wearing the underwear, then maybe that's when you want to trash it.
That's the underwear rule?
I would say that's the underwear rule. If you don't want somebody to see it, then maybe that's when you trash it. When it's when it's all the string, when the nylon is, the clothing is separated from the band,
Right.
And you got holes in it, probably it's time to throw it out.
All right. Well,
when the bra's got the wiring sticking out of the end there, that's probably time to throw it out.
got it.
Unless you want to get real, busy and start sewing it up. But I don't think a lot of people want to do that unless you have to.
That's true. All right. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep working on this. And then as I get it closer and closer to where it needs to be, I'll take photographs along the way. And then we'll share this out to people with ideas and blog posts and tweets over the next week or so.
Yeah.
I think there's also maybe a side to this where there's a second layer where after you move, you then have to find the places for everything, and then do you throw away things that don't really have a place anymore?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is the thought. So.
Exactly. And a lot of times you think you might want to take it with you, like that game, for instance, that you were holding.
Yeah.
You might. It's probably. I mean, I don't live in Miami, so a hurricane isn't a reality up here. Weather coming to our door and knocking everything out. We get thunderstorms, but our chances of losing our homes or losing, getting that kind of a devastation is not quite as drastic here. But
for us, it's a matter of electricity. When you lose electricity, you lose bank machines, you lose your Wi-Fi connection, so you need games. You lose the ability to cook things, so you need canned items. You need items that are non-perishable, that don't need to be heated up. You lose your everything in your refrigerator. You lose everything in your freezer. It's you need candles for lighting. You need batteries for flashlights. So all of a sudden, there is a whole survival aspect to having stuff. And
yeah, we do have a little bit of that up here in Canada. I usually did that if I was on the road a lot, driving in the country. You would pack your trunk with a blanket and a survival kit, maybe some chocolate and some granola bars, anything, water, something to, if you had to be stranded in your car overnight, then you could freeze to death. So packing a blanket and maybe even a candle, that is very helpful. And you could, in your house too. Up here, we do have candles if the power goes out, and if it's in the winter, and if the power is out for any length of time, we're fortunate it gets cold enough we can just throw our refrigerator material outside the door. And I mean, you've seen pictures of beer being put in the snowbanks.
Yeah.
So we're fortunate that way. But in the summer, obviously, our food would spoil too. But it depends on where you are. But I think it's not a crazy idea to have some sort of an emergency plan too. It just depends on how crazy you get at collecting it.
Right.
And if you do, I mean, for me, I hate wasting food. So if I had, a month's worth of cans and it was past hurricane season, I would make sure that I ate every single one of those cans before I bought another one.
Right. And I think that's another way to deal with all of this stuff as well, is that you really commit to the idea of maybe it's the month of December. For us, our hurricane season is June through November.
Right.
So the month of December, you eat all the cans down, or you eat everything down, and that needs to be part of your end of the year, celebration,
Or it goes to the food bank.
Or it goes to the food bank during that time of the year. So, there's a lot of things. I'm really, like I said, I'm very fascinated with this Peter Walsh guy. I think, his tips are absolutely fabulous. I really think it's so crucial and critical to have somebody step beside you for accountability purposes, because it's so easy to make an excuse about why you want something, whereas your best friend or somebody's going to say, do you really need that? And that's what you just need to make them ask you, what do you need that for? And call you on the carpet. Like I said, for me, it's information-related stuff. And the only thing that would take that out of my life, I think, would be to have an assistant, a personal assistant that was able to download all my Scribble, Scrabble, and life events into a network of connections and moments and Google Documents and all of that. That if I won the lotto, I'd hire an assistant.
Or you can find somebody, you know, maybe your local high school or communications, at, you know, at an entry-level university, maybe a communications student, or like I say, high school. That might be something that you can hire them to do for minimum wage or a little more than minimum wage to get that off your plate.
How could a virtual assistant, how could you get that information to a virtual assistant?
That's probably as much work as
Okay.
as actually re-inputting it online, I'm thinking, because, I mean, if you were to send that to me, you're literally going to have to photograph it or find a way to upload it.
Right.
So it might be easier to find somebody in a locally, just, it could even be a senior who's looking for some part-time or just little beer money or whatever, and that can upload that for you, or put that on an electronic document.
Okay. Well, I feel like that, you know, I think that this is one of those things that, like I said, we could revisit, because I think that this is something that for certain holds me back, but I believe that it holds a lot of people back.
Yes. Yeah.
And, you know, it would be interesting to also not just do before and after in terms of certain rooms or certain aspects of your life, but here's how I felt after. Or,
yeah. Think of how you feel when you change. If you're in a place where you don't plan on moving, and you go on to, you know, find one of those feng shui sites and say, okay, that's what they say I should do with my bedroom. That's where my bed should be. So once you change that around a little bit to accommodate it as much as you can, feel how different it is. Does it feel different to you? Usually it feels a little bit better. You just do feel better. Let's face it, if your place is organized, when your desk is organized, if you've got a messy desk and everything's piled up, and if you're one of those people who, doesn't matter during the day it's all a mess, but maybe at the end of the day you pack it all up and have it all nice for the next morning, I mean, it feels better when it's all organized and you can find everything.
Okay, so your top 10 tips for me might be?
Well, the top 10, I'd say, first of all, figure out...
Top 10 tips for clearing, organizing, and clearing your life.
Yes. So, if it is not serving you, do you need it? Do you really need it? So look at everything in your life, not just the things in your house, but look at everything. Sometimes there are relationships that are not serving you. Now, we all have, it doesn't necessarily mean you say, oh, I can't talk to you because you're toxic energy, but you kind of steer more towards the positive people in your life, and you know, you don't necessarily diss them, but you're not going to put a lot of energy in keeping, you know, talking to them all the time, because usually there are a lot of people who try to hold you back instead of, you know, cheerlead you forward. So see if you're being served by that, and it could be anything as well with your, if you're going to business club. I've done this with business clubs. I've gone to business club group, and I've sat, that I might have been going to for a couple of years, and I would sit around and think, is this moving me forward? Is this really serving me anymore? Maybe at a time it did, and that's one of the reasons why I retired from being a freelance reporter as well. I came to that conclusion. I've got everything I needed out of it, and it was time to move on. So it didn't serve me anymore. I wasn't really pushing forward. So so think about that with your relationships, with your environment and your stuff.
Okay, number 2.
Don't just throw stuff out.
Okay.
Think about how other kinds of uses. So we need to start recycling more.
Okay.
People are our oceans are trash dump. We're treating the ocean like the back of an Impala, just throwing Wendy's wrappers in it.
Yeah.
And we've got to start being more reliable for our environment. So everything can be recycled.
So gift
Almost everything can be recycled.
Somebody's blessing.
And I don't give a crap if the container needs to be clean. Put some soap in the sink and just clean it and throw it in the recycling bin.
Yeah.
The fact that you don't want to clean the container is not helping the environment.
Right.
And you may not see the immediate impact, but down the road, your kids are not going to be able to eat fish out of the ocean. You're not going to be able to breathe because there won't be any trees left.
I go clean up an island in Key Biscayne, in the Biscayne Bay, and I started videotaping it. And I ended up, and not just videotaping it, I started to use Periscope to show people, hey, why don't y'all come with me to clean up this island today? And I got all these Twitter followers that care about ocean and water conservation.
Nice.
And taking care of the earth and plastic. And they literally, and I was like, okay, what should I pick up? And I did this whole before and after of series of photographs, and the nature and the wildlife that I found underneath the trash was just magnificent. I found hermit crabs and these beautiful spiders and webs and driftwood and all these things. But it wasn't until I removed the trash that the beauty started to shine through again. So,
exactly.
You know, be a gift and not just a liability to this planet.
And I think that is where people need to focus, not those stupid light bulbs. I think those light bulbs are probably worse for the environment than the regular ones, personally. But that, I think, just recycling, simple act of recycling. Most things can be recycled. A lot of things can. So check
or upcycled. There are all these artists that are using trash to create really amazing things. So
there's companies that are learning how to take trash and turn it into fuel for vehicles. So wouldn't that be nice if we did that to all of our dumps?
Well, so you know what? There's actually a guy out of Canada that started following me on Twitter, and I will find him, that deals with plastics in the ocean and turning that into something valuable. So I'd like to interview him, so I'm going to do some research and see what we can do to bring him on the show. So tip number 3.
Okay, tip number 3, check your refrigerator regularly. Is there something, are you eating food that is expired? Are you just keeping it in there because it's expired? Because that is also bringing toxic energy to your refrigerator. So make sure you're checking the expiry dates on your food just to make sure that you're not getting sick all the time. The other thing with the refrigerator, it probably doesn't hurt to wipe it out once in a while and to kind of freshen the air in the refrigerator, put an open box of baking soda in there, and that helps freshen the air.
I also heard that used tea bags. So
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, I just read this the other day, that used tea bags will take in a lot of stuff in the air and better than the baking soda.
Oh, well that'll work too then.
Because they once they're dry, so you use the tea bag, you dry it out, and then you stick it in the refrigerator dry so it sucks in. They like water. They like pulling in the water. So it'll help your refrigerator that way. Tip 4.
Look at your closet. If you haven't worn it in 6 to 8 months, it's probably, unless it's a gown that you wear at Christmas, and of course If you're a woman, you probably don't want to wear the same gown twice in a row, unless it's a different event and there are different people at it. But if you're not going to wear it, if it's a blouse or whatever, and you're not going to wear it and you haven't worn it in 6 months, probably donate it.
Okay. I can buy into that. So
unless it's really just worn out. If it's worn out stuff, just make a cat bed out of it. Throw it in a box for the cat to lay on.
Okay, what about data and information you just don't need anymore?
If you don't need it, trash it. If there's something on that data that, if you have personal information on that data, you're going to have to find a way to take the data off.
Okay.
And there are companies out there that can do that for you. I'm not sure what they're called, but if you check the Best Buy, local Best Buy, they might be able to tell you who can clean off a drive. There's a lot of old computers out there.
Okay, what about...
And they need the drives cleaned off.
What about old media, like books?
And there are places to recycle those, so you'd have to check in your local area where you would recycle them. They wouldn't just go to a dump. But some old computers can be donated. If your computer is more recent, like XP, if it's older than XP, then probably that's going to go to one of the computer recycling centers or trash centers. But if it's an newer old computer, then it can probably be reconfigured so that somebody else can use it. I know here in Canada, there are some kids who don't have access to a computer in their school. In some of the older in the poorer neighborhoods, their kids don't necessarily have access to a computer, so they can't do their homework at home. I see libraries that are full of kids just to get the access to the computers, or if they can't get them at school. So there are programs that you can give these computers to who will wipe them clean to reconfigure them so that they can be donated to these kinds of kids.
Right, okay.
But you want to make sure that your data is wiped clean. So if you're going to donate your computer, by all means, you go through and delete everything you don't want on it for somebody to see, but you still need the hard drive wiped.
Yeah, you know what? If you have an Apple computer, you can set up an appointment with the Mac bar, and they will completely wipe clean your entire computer. And it's better than that. They will take your old computer, refurbish your old computer. They will give you, typically it's called a trade-in, just like a car. It's called the trade-in program. If it's in decent condition, they will take your old computer, wipe it clean for you, refurbish it, give it to someone else, and they'll give you some money off of your next purchase. There is also, if it's not in great condition, let's say your screen is cracked like mine, there is a company called Gazelle.com, Gazelle.com, and Gazelle will still give you an estimate on the computer trade-in. Mine has a cracked screen. My trade-in value is $171. You will turn it around into an Apple gift card. You can take that $171 Apple gift card and get the $171 off of your next purchase. So just putting that out there, that there are programs for trade-in and refurbishing computers.
Excellent.
In terms of, I'm going to throw out this tip, that in terms of DVDs, CDs, and books, DVDs you can get typically on Netflix. If they're Disney, you can get them on Disney.com. If you want to buy them, you can typically buy them on Amazon.com, Amazon Prime. You can watch them whenever you want to watch them. They're on your account. And with your music, you can take your music that you really love and create playlists by searching Spotify. You can take those CDs and rip them onto iTunes and save them on your iCloud account. So you have to purchase a certain amount, but the cloud storage is so worth it. You don't have to schlep old CDs, old DVDs, or books that you can get on Amazon. Amazon.com, you get it onto Kindle, you can read it across all devices. It no longer needs to be on a bookshelf anymore. One thing that I do save are books with images that just wouldn't quite translate on a Kindle.
Yeah.
Amazon.
And there are some books that have a personal tie, you have a personal tie to.
Yeah, that first edition of Tale of Two Cities you probably can't get on.
And there's some collectors, some people collect books, certain books.
Yeah. I have one that
I have a certain collection of old books. Like I've got the original North American version of Dracula by Bram Stoker.
Well, that's cool.
And it was published in 1887 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I've got, and it's in fairly decent shape. So there are books like that that people collect.
Is it just information, or is it truly valuable? And if it's truly valuable, you keep it in a special place. I've got a handful of truly valuable books that I'm not that I can't get on Kindle. So, I think it's a matter of understanding that data is now, or that media is now just data for the most part, and that we don't need to carry it around.
Mm-hmm. So another tip is don't think about just donating clothes when you think to the needy. People need towels, people need bedding, people need furniture.
Yeah.
So look at other items in your house. You may have new socks. You may have some things like makeup you probably want to throw out.
Well, it's like if the seal isn't broken or something like that, maybe, because personal care items are needed by homeless shelters.
Very needed, yes. Bus passes.
Yeah.
If you just got a car and you've got a whole bunch of, I don't know if you have them there, but here we can buy a package of 10 bus tickets. Oh. So if you got a whack of those in your pocket, donate those to with the clothes as well, because they could use bus passes.
Okay. So what about, let's get down to like the really sentimental stuff.
Okay. Down to everything is a collectible to somebody. There are people who collect salt shakers. There are people who collect colored glassware. There are people who collect water bottles. There are people who collect maybe even old computers. There are people who collect cameras. People collect all sorts of items. Like I said before, I know a fellow that collects just old papers. And they pay for them. They pay for them as well. So
I'm like, dude.
Old programs. I mean, if you've got sports collectibles, oh my God, don't throw it out. There's somebody who wants that, and especially me if it's NFL football or college football. There's somebody out there that will pay for it.
That's the question. How do you've got stuff that you've collected that somebody else might value.
Then you put it out on Kijiji or on Craigslist. Okay. You go into the collectible corner there, you see, and just In fact, I did that earlier, a couple of years ago. We were getting rid of an old sewing machine, and my sister had some old records that she wanted to get rid of. So I went on Kijiji, and because Kijiji is more popular up here than Craigslist.
Okay.
And basically described the item, took a picture of it, and threw it up there, and boom, you know, if somebody's looking for it, the collectors are always looking for that. And I'll tell you, I bought all my Oldsmobiles on those kinds of sites.
Okay.
I collect classic cars, so I bought my Oldsmobiles on Kijiji and those kinds of sites, looking for, you know, I'm always looking for cars there too. So,
Okay.
so there's somebody looking for everything there, and even if you just go on those sites and look at the different types of collectibles and the stuff that people are selling,
Right.
you've got a wealth of stuff in you. I mean, it's not like you're going to get rich off of it, but I mean, if you've got an old trunk that weighs 40, 50 pounds and you just don't want to move it, throw it up on Craigslist or Kijiji for $10 or whatever, and somebody will come and take it off your hands. I bought all my exercise equipment secondhand, paid literally nothing for it, because people with good intentions, they'll buy all this exercise equipment, and next thing you know, it's for their laundry to hang on.
Right.
And, you know, after a couple of years, they get tired of seeing it there, so they'll throw it up on these secondhand sites, and somebody like me will come along and, oh, it's only $10. Okay, I'll take it home.
All right, so bathroom-related stuff. So you give the towels to.
The same place you can give your clothes to. Yeah, there's shelters and there's places that would take the towels as well.
Get rid of all items that are expired or that you haven't used, and anything that might be used as a personal care item that hasn't been opened.
Yes.
You can donate as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
When my mother died, she had more toiletries than Walmart. She was an Avon addict, and she bought Avon stuff every month. I think she bought a couple $100 worth of Avon stuff every month. So after she died, and we were going through her stuff, and oh my God, I tell you, my trunk was full of toiletries to give to the shelter.
Wow. Well, you know, I don't know. I mean, I think we're talking about a lot of different things, though. I think we're talking about what has value versus what doesn't have value. I think we're talking about.
But we keep that stuff because when we travel, we bring back those little shampoo bottles, right? Because we think we might need them later.
You know what, though? It's really interesting. There is this woman up in Fort Lauderdale named Big Mama. Her name's Essie. And Big Mama does this wonderful thing at Mother's Day. We're right at Mother's Day weekend. What she does is she has all the women, the hoi polloi of Fort Lauderdale, donate personal care items in baskets. And then the kids get together and they make these baskets, and she creates this motorcade, and she gets somebody with a convertible and another person with a truck and another person with a bus, and we ring bells and make noise and all this kind of stuff, and we give out baskets of all of this stuff, that, you know, the personal care items, and like bubble bath and shampoo and, you know, manicure stuff and all that, to the moms for Mother's Day.
Nice.
And you know what? They absolutely, I mean, it is such a wonderful way to celebrate the moms, and it gives the kids that moment of being able to do something special for their moms. So, you know, really, one man's, you know, things that we take for granted.
Yeah.
Really, you know, on some level, I'm at this point where the more I pare down, and it's funny because
it's freeing. It's very freeing.
It is freeing. I was telling you the story earlier where I had this one guy that was interested in me, and he kept telling me about all of my stuff. And it made me realize I wanted to be with somebody who was expansive enough to say, I've got room for all your stuff and then some.
Yeah.
And
then what you would do when that other guy leaves is you would take the salt, the sea salt, and put it in a jar just to make sure he's completely gone out of the house.
yeah, but the funny thing is that while it's not necessarily the keeping of the stuff, I'm also recognizing the more I relieve myself of the stuff, the more open I am to really create a life with that person. So it goes both ways.
Yes.
And
Just a little bit of a tip. Get back to the collectibles because that's my my thing. If you don't know who might be interested in it, if you have flea markets and little community trade shows, go visit one or two of them, and a lot of those kiosks are the same people week after week after week, and they know who to get in touch with for what.
Yeah, but who has time for that? I need somebody who's going to come take the stuff away and do something with that. I don't have time to go out.
Then you Google who collects that stuff.
I am a single mother raising a child, and I do not have time to be Googling how to get rid of my stuff. That's a straight up truth.
Well, I'm talking about specific things that you don't necessarily have in your house. I'm talking about like sports collectibles and records and things like that.
I actually have a friend who is up in Boca Raton. This dude collects more stuff than you could possibly imagine. And he's like, I tell you, if I had any collectible anything at all, I'd put it in a box and mail it to him, as soon as I get someone to mail it for me.
There's that M word again.
We need applications for this. We need somebody's going to come up with a great idea I think there is already an application where somebody will ship things for you. I need that application where I push the button and somebody shows up at my house an hour later, just like a pizza delivery guy.
Yeah.
Comes with their boxing materials and their tape and their whatever and says, text me the contact you want to send it to, so I shoot them a text with the contact of the person I want to send it to. Out comes this label that they slap on the box after they've boxed everything to my whatever, and they whisk it away, and it gets charged to my Visa card. I'm just saying, I need.
There may be somebody out there.
I need somebody who, says, you've got collectible items, you've got items of a little bit of value. Let us whisk it away for you and find the right person for that.
Yeah.
You've got items that somebody else might appreciate or enjoy. Let us come take it away from you and gift it to somebody who might really appreciate that. I don't even know what. I mean, there's an idea in that for somebody that could put those things together. That's all I have to say.
I'm sure it'll happen.
So we'll have to do a show on that. Applications for...
Yeah, for life. Applications for life.
Mobile applications for decluttering.
Yeah.
Anyway, this has been terrific. One thing that I would say is that if you can gift your cans to the U.S. Postal Service this weekend, the second Saturday of every May they pick up the cans. That's the sort of food drive during the time of the year where people actually really need the food. If you're an Uber fan, please tweet or get in touch with Uber and ask them to do this Goodwill project again and promote it really well, because I think that's a really great idea where, like, they partnered. It's a mobile application that did partner to do all of that. I think somebody needs to run that program on a consistent basis for Uber. I think it's a great idea.
And there's probably many more great programs that we don't know about yet that are out there like that. So you'd have to check your own neighborhood.
Well, and that would be one thing where if you happen to be watching anything that we've done today and you know of examples of people that are doing this kind of stuff, organizers, people that step beside people and help people release, coaches that can help. Like I said, I'm hiring Debbie today to coach me through the whole process. And the reality of the matter is she can do this virtually. This doesn't have to be something that she needs to be standing over my shoulder to do. Just the accountability alone. The idea that, you know, you can free yourself from this stuff. So, anyway, this has been fun. This is a fresh start for me. I'm going to do another show with Debbie on what a fresh start actually really looks like once I get back up and running. And this has been fun. Thank you for joining us. Debbie, if there's anything that you can think of to sum all this up.
To declutter, when you declutter your living environment, it really declutters your life, I think. It opens up the energy in your own life, because if you're so cluttered and you've got this stuff that's holding you back from even just getting from here to the couch, when you free yourself of everything you don't need, it just opens up your life. You just feel so much better.
So let it go.
When you feel better, what happens?
Let it go.
Good stuff starts coming in.
I shouldn't say this, but I had an old boyfriend come back in my life. And I know this sounds really crazy and horrible to say, but when they come back in your life, you got to let them go too.
Everything that is
just cluttering up your future.
Well, let's face it. Well, that's really what we've been talking about through this whole broadcast, is your living environment really is indicative of what is coming into your life too, probably.
Right.
So when you simplify your living environment and it simplifies your life.
I think there's a long-term story to be told here, though. I mean, I really do. I think this is an ongoing, maybe.
Oh, it's always ongoing, yeah, because you always have to clean up.
Yeah.
You've always got to check those expiry dates. And that's probably the best, expiry dates is probably the best analogy of the whole thing. So if the expiry date is long overdue and you're still eating it, you're going to get sick.
Yeah, that's
right. And it's toxic, so get rid of it.
All right, so let it go. All right, good.
Let it go, let it go.
All right, let's sum this show up. That we want to let you all know that we're starting Virtual Newsmakers back up again, and we're going to incrementally be bringing more and more to this show. And Debbie, it's been great seeing you again. If you all gained any tips or have any tips, please leave them in the comments. Comment on our YouTube. Join our YouTube. We love getting comments, and we love being able to respond to you. So if y'all know of any good organizers or organizer tips, or have any ways to add to what we've already done, we'd love to hear them on our YouTube channel. And we've left a bunch of links as part of this program to Peter Walsh and the Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive, if you all are interested in any of those resources. So, signing off, and thank you.
Bye.